Hello and welcome to Enlightened Empaths, your community for the spiritually awakened, where we discuss, explore, and connect with fellow empaths, healers, intuitives, and seekers. Hello, empaths, and welcome to this week's show. We are so excited to introduce a new guest to you. Let me first tell you a little bit about him. Dr. Christopher Macklin is a channeling medium and healer from England. He helps people with rebalancing the body's energy field by clearing chakra points and cleansing the body's meridian field, which helps remove blockages and negative energies. He and his wife, Amanda, have founded the Global Enlightenment Project to help awaken humanity and support the healing needs of his clients. He's the author of Divine Transcendence, Centering the Mind, and Sacred Prayers, just to name a few. We're so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. It's wonderful to be here. Bless your heart.
We're excited too. You know, when I was going over your life story, you began with some immediate health challenges, starting with some strokes when you were going through the birth process and an injury when you were 4. Can you just kind of bring us through the trajectory of how this work of healing began for you?
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I was born 2 days after I was born. I had 8 strokes, and then in hospital for a year. And then what happened after that? You know, when I was 4, I was just messing with a towel. A pot of tea went over my back, burnt my back so badly. I was in hospital for another year. And then things moved on. I saw entities. What's that in the corner? And Dad, there's a dinosaur. It was actually an archae-reptilian thing, but there's a dinosaur in the corner. And I felt it. You know, when you look at, I know we have had interactions with negative entities, but you can feel that negative energy, you know. So, and he said, "You got any where? It's there." So I thought, oh, he can't see it. And I saw craft in the sky. I see things through the veil a lot. And I can luckily tune in and out of it. And it's very interesting, you know. Anyway, life moves on, and, you know, I was severely dyslexic. You might be saying, how on earth did you write 6 books? Well, you know, we have someone, I dictate the stuff, and the ghostwriter puts it in a format that goes out to people. But did I actually physically write the book? No, I dictated it. So, you know. But moving on, you know, I was in the remedial class at school because I had dyslexia, brilliant at maths, but terrible at English. And, you know, of course, in England, if you're no good at English, well, you're not getting anywhere. So, anyway, I got degrees, masters, and different things. And then I was in the corporate world, and one of the things, something came across a reel, you know, from, it was saying like 9 things that make you, they said dangerous, but what they really meant is awake, you know. But, you know, to some people it might be, yeah, you're weird, you know. And one of the things that, you know, things like you don't fit in, you don't like being amongst crowds, you think before you speak, you're always analysing your thoughts, you know what I mean? And there's many things, and you don't fit in. Well, don't try and fit in. Hypersensitive, of course. My father used to say, stop being so sensitive. Ridiculous. You know, and, well, you know, here I am. And, you know, 62. I did get a discount this year. I said, God, I need some years off. And, yeah, you can have 30 years discount. So I'm actually only 33, but no one believes me. It's been a journey. And then 2007, went completely bankrupt. I was buying houses at the time because I was earning a fortune of money because I was a software engineer. And then I had this great idea. Let's build 176 apartments. Oh no. In Manchester. So anyway, I got the land. It's millions of pounds. And I remember the bank phoned up and said, these apartments that are worth £220,000 are now worth 90. You've got 14 days to pay our money back. And I said to her, well, I've got £10 in my pocket. Will that help? We're talking about millions of pounds anyway. Marriage split up, everything split up. And I was kind of semi-homeless for a bit, you know, living out of a car. Sometimes people would sponsor me and get me, you know, things just lined up. I think you always have enough. And then I went to Belize, which was really interesting. I went to a place called San Ignacio, where they've got a Mayan temple called Antovich, you know, and I got on top of there and it blew me wide open. And, you know, they were showing me visions of my past lives. So I always look at past lives for the last 4,000 years because, if you go back like hundreds of thousands of years, who cares? I think we've been here for the last 4,000 years to train for right now. And yeah, so they showed me my past life, blown away by it. And then I met this lady who was being taunted by deep state people, the cabal. And I did a ceremony and she was blown away. It all stopped, Basically, I bought them to do a ceremony. The one thing I never do is judge people, And so we do a ceremony like, okay, you guys, whoever you are, infinite levels wide and high through all space time, I'm going to bring you before God for justice and release you to God with unconditional love and forgiveness. It stopped immediately. And we still do that. We do a ceremony every 120 days. We get a lot of people on it. And when they come on it, we do the same thing. We call out the big tech, big pharma, big this, big that, and bring them before God. So anyway, I did that. And she said, oh, come to Missouri, and stay with me for a couple of weeks. So I did. And I loved it, and here I am in Missouri. At the moment, we call it misery because it's 105 degrees, but when it's in the fall, it's Missouri. so, so yeah, and it came today. But one thing I want to share with people, I think it's really interesting. In about 2000, when I hadn't gone bankrupt, I went for a reading. This lady's about 84, and she said, right, sit down, and she's looking up. She goes, okay. We're starting the reading, by the way. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, okay, thank you. Wrote all these things down. She goes, well, you're going to get remarried. I thought, okay. You're going to move to America. Okay. You're going to do healing for a living and law of donations. Or what? So, oh, look, here we are. It's incredible. She was absolutely spot on. And it's, one of the things that people always worry about is your gifts within are your absolute passion. And I think they say, well, how am I going to make money out of painting? Whatever it is, And the answer is, don't even worry about that. Just focus where love flows, energy goes, and money's just energy. And here we are today. We work on probably about 3,000 people a week, with the general groups, one-to-one specialized groups. And we have a protocol for getting rid of nanotechnology and all that sort of thing. So yeah, absolutely. It's been amazing. I look back and think it feels like 5 lifetimes in one lifetime. It's insane, but I love it, I really do.
Wow.
But don't you find that all of those stepping stones have given you a level of empathy and compassion for all the people that are coming to you now, that you that chameleon energy of your energy feels you could talk to anyone about anything and they would feel safe enough to be vulnerable. And everything you were talking about, what kept coming through is this is such a collaborative effort for you with spirit. I joke and I say I'm a hand puppet and just things come out, but I really feel like this is multi-dimensional. It's not just the angelic realm. It's not just a traditional religious. So do you find that there's more fluidity between the realms and between the connections than there have been in the past? Because for a lot of folks, it really feels like it's amping up a little bit.
I think it does, and I think it's very strong at the moment. I mean, the veil's thinning, and I always tell people like past life stuff. For the last 80 years, everyone's got past life. Why does everyone talk about past lives? Well, the veil's thinning, of course. And I always remind people, if you want a proper human being, you need a lady's womb. Forget about the plastic pod and things. And so, when you fertilize an egg, but I always back up flowers, candlelit dinner, fertilized egg becomes a fetus. You've got 3 months to get the soul in. And when it comes through, of course, it's not blocking the past life stuff. So all the cellular memory and all the emotion bonds into the fetus. So that's why I get a lot of clients. Why is my 2-year-old so anxiety ridden? And the answer is, oh, that would be past life stuff. They're remembering it. It's amazing.
When you're healing these blocks, do you see them? Do you feel them? Are you just channeling the energy as you're doing it? How does the process work for you?
Well, I was born as a Melchizedek being, and I've got 84% Melchizedek DNA, and I found out last year because I was talking about some faction of religion. I won't say what it is, and they hit me with a low frequency energy weapon. And what they do is they actually melted 2 of my customer heart valve together. I got really sick really quick, and I told the beings, do you have time? Because I felt my life force go, and they said, no, you don't have time, go and get the operation. So I said, oh, we're going to do TAVR, which is put a valve through the artery. Anyway, they did a scan of my heart. Oh my God, it's the size of a volleyball. And my valve was bigger than the ones out of the shell. So the poor old guy saying, I'm going to have to figure this out. Give me a couple of weeks. So anyway, we had a meeting. I've done it. Right, we're doing it. And so I had open heart surgery last year. And, and a lot of things have happened. So I think when again, talking about what makes a dangerous person, it's not dangerous, it's awake. And when you're talking about things, there's one thing about me, I'm always honest, open, and raw. That's a sign of, an empath, someone evolved. And people take offense to it sometimes. Oh, well, I'm just telling you the truth. I had a client last week, and she was amongst 6 people, and she said something to one lady, and she got, well, you owe me an apology. She goes, well, I don't, because it's the truth. Yes, you do. No, no. And got really triggered, And I said to her, next time what you want to do is just say, what's within you that's triggering you so much? Because it's the truth, And I mean, we can't get away from the truth, I guess. So, yeah. So I work with the Melchizedek beings. They're from the ultimate dimension. And what we do is basically the interaction is we put portals around people, bond it into Merkaba fields, 27 of them to keep them safe. That means that the beings can come through and basically go into the body and do psychic surgery. Now, obviously, they can't go in until you get that person's vibration up. So we've done, some extraordinary work, and I love it.
You can feel your passion with everything that you're speaking of. It's wonderful. How did you know? I'm not familiar with, and I don't want to. I can't even say the word. So you're working
Melchizedek.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. How did you know that that's where that was coming from? Because I think a lot of people bring things through and they're not quite sure. And I always err on the side of caution of going with love, with light, with guidance, with protection, and always ask for highest and best for myself and to be a clear conduit for spirit. So I think when people start talking about different frequencies, different realms, different beings, that's another whole ball game. We're talking a whole other type of work.
Oh yeah, I mean, I learned in when I was in Belize because I went back to this was strange. I went back to the hotel, and they did this in front of me. There's like a hologram, and they showed me my past lives. I was watching it. It was like watching TV in your room in third dimensional. I was going, "Wow, this is good." They showed me them all, and it made me understand. I mean, one thing I always tell people, who cares what you did in a past life? It's good, great, but it's what you do now that counts from the experiences of those past lives. I only look for 4,000 years because till now. So yeah, it's I mean, there's different types of angels, of course. I mean, there's archangels, there's angels, there's fallen angels, there's ascended masters. So what makes them different? And it's not really hierarchy, but like archangels, they are more evolved. I mean, to me, like you were saying, Denise, the conduit, is basically angelic realm. And what I've found, I mean, I've had lots of readings and very few I've found that are really pure. Why is that? Because you've got the fallen angels who want to manipulate you. So what happens is that they get in between and, the angel will step back, okay, And one of the things I always tell people, ask whoever you're channeling, are you of God? If there's no answer, it's not, because they're not going to say, well, of course I'm not of God, they're just not going to say anything. So that's a very good way of checking these beings. But, angelic beings, if you channel them, they're there for you. And I think, it goes into kind of starseed people as well. People have, starseed people have volunteered to come back here. Now, I don't know what we were all thinking, but the place is crazy. I love it, but it's crazy. And I think, if everyone ever says to me, I'm bored, how can you be bored on this planet? There's so much going on. But I think starseed people, of which there's probably, less than 1% of the whole planet, what are they here to do? They're here because they've evolved. They're here to come back and help others to actually move forward. The problem is you're attacked relentlessly. I mean, I've been attacked 219 times, and I'm still here, I mean, open heart surgery is not for the faint-hearted, I'm telling you, but it's okay, I was dusted with a bioweapon. I went to a conference. I felt like really light water on my arm. I thought, what on earth's that? And I asked them, what's that? It's a bioweapon. Get back. I got really sick, and when I got back home, I did a lab test on it, and it was 2 malaria. It was a binding agent, and it was a solvent. The solvent delivers it. Binding agent binds it to cells, and I said to Dr. Hildy, who's a world leading industrial toxicologist, I said, what they're trying to do is, we'll get rid of you, of course. Oh, great. So it's these things happen, but you're attacked also by entities. So it's really important for starseeds to really work on themselves and, get a vibration where you can actually get into that God space. You've taken your power back and you can step out and help humanity. So.
Fallen angels have always confused me because if we reincarnate and grow and learn and evolve, and we learn to heal from prejudices and triggers and anything that prevents us from getting closer to God, why don't the fallen angels heal and evolve? Why don't they look around and go, wait, why have I been holding on to this hate and anger for so long?
Well, I think, they're just not evolved themselves. I mean, fallen angels are basically, when the free will came, they want to be in control, and the control aspect takes them over. It's all about power. It's all about control, and it's sad, but it's a fact. I mean, if you look at archangels, I mean, you've got Michael, ancient Palladian, and archangels. What do they differ from angels? Well, they're more evolved. It's just that they've been around a lot longer. They've seen so many things. So a lot of people call on, Archangel Michael, Gabriel, you've got Uriel, you've got Shamel, uh, Josephiel, and they're all like lions, Arcturians, Andromedans, it depends what race they've come from. There's a lot of them, but, they're there to help, and all you have to do is call on them, and they'll be there to help. And the Melchizedek beings, they're available as well.
No, I understand that. I just don't understand why they've been around and they've evolved, but the fallen angels haven't. And I remember reading there's an ancient, like, obviously not canonical but text from the time before the Bible was written that said that God created them really for us and asked them to be negative and test us to help strengthen our resolve and help polish up our pieces. And I wonder what you think about that view, that they're actually volunteering to be negative.
Well, very often if they volunteer, they're coming down. But, maybe they've got traits of being negative. I mean, I don't think, to me, I mean, I can't imagine God creating beings to manipulate you. I mean, God loves you unconditionally. Therefore, people always talk about heaven and hell. Oh, God's going to send you to hell and damnation. You're going to burn for the rest of your life. Well, the rest of eternity. And no, it's nonsense. I mean, God loves you unconditionally without condition. So even if you've done something, you're forgiven before you do it, and that's why I always question karma, because if you're forgiven by God before you do it, then you don't have karma with God per se. I think karma comes within, where you're thinking about the thing you've done, and you think, oh my God, I robbed a bank. Oh no, I'm going to get caught. I'm going to get caught. So you're going to get caught because you're manifesting that. And to me, it's about self-forgiveness, because again, I view God as, we're all God beings, God's everywhere and everything. So yeah, it's really interesting. But I believe they've fallen because I think it's like human beings. Human beings are loving beings. So why do some people want to be in control and have billions and billions and billions of dollars? Well, it's power, it's control. They've just lost their way, I think. And I think that's the same with Lucifer. They used to be angelic, and then I think from free will, you've got Lucifer, you've got Archons, you've got Anunnaki, you've got Draconians, and all these fallen angels, and they want to take over the planet. They want to be in control.
I'm going to backtrack a minute because that's the way I'm wired. And
That's okay.
I was thinking about being so sensitive as a kid, but growing up in a part of the country where it was important for my parents to teach me to not wear my heart on my sleeve so that I could function in the real world, because I was so hypersensitive. And now I see these kids coming onto the planet now that are so aware, so connected. They're coming in for this big work. We're getting it ready for them. I always am in the cleanup crew. and we've handed it off. And now these kids coming in are here for this light that is going to be normal. How can we support these kids that definitely are coming in wired at a higher frequency, even though we're all three of us speaking, we've been this way, we came this way, we're wired this way. And I see these little people coming onto the planet who are just these beautiful, beautiful fountains of light. And they're here and they're excited to be here. I'm a big believer if we support each other, but we really need to look out for these little folks too.
I think we really do. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of kids now. They've come, they're very aware, they get what's going on the planet. They're 19 or 21, and they're going, oh my God, I don't fit in here because they've come slightly before the transition. So this is, maybe they've come slightly early. So, it's important to support them saying, look, you're not insane, because most of the people around them would say, what are you on about? I mean, my father thinks there's no beings other than on this planet. So don't be so ridiculous. I said, Dad, the universe is infinite. Do you not think somewhere there's life on another planet? Nope. Oh, okay. I don't know what to tell. But, I think it's important to make them realize you're not insane. You're not crazy. There are other beings, and I do my best with them. But they don't fit in. They don't want a 9 to 5 job because they're not wired that way. I've had my brother-in-law, he's 20. My mother-in-law had him 20 years later. So it's interesting that, he doesn't fit in at all. He finds it difficult, and again, with partners, finds it difficult to get a girlfriend because how many people are that involved? A small percentage of the planet, really, in my opinion.
We know that thoughts are the root of all illness, right? And I know you've said that and written about that in your books. And a lot of people will say, well, change your thoughts, change your life, as Wayne Dyer reminded us. And people will point to affirmations to do that. But what are some action-oriented steps people can do to really change their inner thoughts and pull in more healing energy?
I think the biggest thing, I mean, I remember when I went bankrupt and I was sitting in the south coast of England in Worthing, and it was a dark day, it was pouring down with rain, it was grey as anything. And, I was bawling my eyes out thinking, wow, no one cares and they don't. And I think that turned my life around after that because one thing I learned, my family's very different. My father one day said, you're absolutely nuts. I said, Dad, you know what? That's the best compliment you've ever given me. Because he normally berates you. Now, you're barking mad, I said, yay, you've finally realised, I'm just different than you. Because he's an accountant, and of course you go bankrupt. Oh, I'm ashamed. Da, 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 da. So you're making it all about yourself. It's me who's gone bankrupt, not you. But I think the biggest thing I started to do is policing thought. And every single thought I had, if it was a negative one, okay, universe, back up. Let me shift this thought and looked at the positive aspect of it. Because my belief, like you guys were saying, the start, I think everything in your life is amazing for growth. It doesn't matter how bad it is, because this is just a meat suit, and I've had a lot of people have different things happen, and you can either stay powerless, oh my God, woe is me, or you can turn it around and say, well, wow, that can change my life. And, what I always say to them, look, treat this like a car. And you're in the car, you're driving around, then you leave the keys in accidentally, you run in your office and someone jumps in it and they go, knock into a lamppost or do something. Because, normally when these things happen, your soul leaves your body, so you're not present while things happen. And, if you can evolve enough to, A, forgive what happened, and B, move on and use it as like a change in your life, So I just said to them, well, okay, you got a few dents on the car, but were you affected? No, you were in the office, getting some paperwork while it was happening. And that happens a lot with people, of course, the soul leaving the body is a protective mechanism that you don't ingest any. So they've not really touched you. They've just messed with the meat suit you're in, the body you're in, which I think it's an important point. But going back to anything, I mean, I've dealt with what I call Illuminati fallout children, where they've been abused since the age of 3, and you name it, it's happened. I don't want to go into, but basically, we've had to go back and run those videos that happened, and then change that timeline by going back to the video and changing the outcome. And you keep doing that, and gradually the timeline that runs into the now improves, in energy to the point where they can lead a normal life. It's incredible. So really, key is you changing your thoughts, taking your power back. But you can't take your power back, I don't think, until you process the emotion. And I was looking at a video the other day. It was really interesting. And this lady was saying, "Well, you come on this planet, you're a starseed. You're not going to do so well at the start because really you're learning to navigate the planet." She called it karma, but like I say, I have a problem with karma because I don't think karma is the way people think it is. But what you're doing is doing stupid stuff, learning how to operate the planet. But it taught me, a lot about stuff, and everything went. I had a Bentley, everything disappeared, and now I just lead a very simple life. I love it, and I think the other thing about everything is gratitude. Gratitude to me, it's no use grabbing a gratitude stone and say, right, God, you've got 5 minutes. So I'm grateful for my wife, car, that's it. We're done. And the food on the table, which is really important. I think gratitude is like a way of life where you just feel it all day, every day, because you're in the God space, because you're surrendered. But it takes quite a bit of work to get there. People want to get there like within 2 months. It doesn't work like that. And I think it's because so many people have gone through trauma, so much trauma, especially being a starseed empath, taking everything to heart. I mean, when I was younger, a couple of weeks ago, I found if someone talked behind my back, I'd be so mortified. I almost was throwing up. Like, why are they doing that? I don't understand. But now I think, oh, it's okay. Like I said before, it's the in quotes couldn't give a shitometer. When that explodes, you could care about people, but you don't care about what people think here because that's their narrative from probably their trauma. And so when you get to that level, it's amazing. And the other thing is stop pleasing people, because if you don't want someone around, you don't have them. It's okay to say, no, I don't want that person to come around for this party. I mean, when I was younger, I used to be a people pleaser, being honest with you. And now I don't, because I'm very careful because of the level of work I have to keep a very balanced life so that, I can get away from that work. Hearing people's things all day, every day is a lot, especially the amount of people we work on. So it's taught me to get in your own bubble, have a wonderful life with amazing people around you and do things that, you enjoy, whether it's planting food or whether it's walking in the trees. Yeah, it's really important.
Yeah. Very, very important to free yourself from people's opinions.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And that is such a pervasive attitude right now and mindset. And gratitude to me is everything. That has saved me countless times in my life, because sometimes it might be, I'm grateful I had enough to eat today, or that I was able to pay that bill, or that this person is okay in my life. It can be anything at all. But that's what I'll tell people often is, if you start to get in that squirrel mind, is find 5 things you're grateful for and just say that throughout the day, and it becomes who you are, not what you do. So I love that you brought that up. The other aspect is that this shift that the world is going through right now, it feels like through this healing modality, you're giving people a sense of hope that they may have. It may be old past life, it may be generational trauma, it may be things, unprocessed emotions that they've stored in their body, but it feels that you've found a way to pull that out or to alleviate that. It's not so much about the cause, it's about releasing it. Is that more
Absolutely.
the viewpoint? Okay.
No, it absolutely is. And, we have a fast track method of getting rid of emotion, which is interesting, because if you go and see a psychotherapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, I work with a lot of them because they're all struggling right now because, people are so like, so we have a lot of these people on specialized groups just to release the emotion. But what the Melchizedek beings do is when they come from the ultimate dimension, they go in, as an empath, how many layers have you got? 150,000 layers of emotion? Who knows? 200,000? Too much, So what they do is go within those layers. They look for the emotion affecting, the biggest emotion affecting you right now, and they pull that layer of energy out. Then the next biggest, and next biggest. And people as they do it, you can feel a tightness somewhere in your body, like lower back, lower abdomen, solar plexus, breastbone, throat, upper back, shoulder, and neck, can be the throat, head or legs, somewhere in the body where that emotion's done. As they pull it out, it gets tight, and then when they've pulled it out, it releases, and then they breathe it out from the chest, which means the energy's gone. However, so we start off normally one-to-one specialized groups with 81 releases, which is a lot. Why can we do that? Because once the energy's gone, you have an effect 2 hours the next day, you'll get a reaction from the residual, so you might bawl your eyes out for 5 minutes, might get a purge of diarrhea, depending on how you process emotion. I purge through the intestines, can get yawning, coughing, burping, sneezing, or crazy dreams. So yeah, so it's a reaction, but it's the residual of those 81 releases. So it's really good. I'm glad I found that, because then it means you can release a lot more emotion in people a lot quicker, and then once they get used to 81, they don't have too much reaction. We go up to 162, and then 324, 648, 1296. And so that means they get in that high vibrational place a lot quicker. And of course, another thing which is really important that people don't, well, some people realize, some people don't, is that, when your vibration's low, these entities, like fallen angels, whatever you want to call them, like Luciferians or Anunnaki, they can attach to you. Once they attach to you, like Anunnaki draconians, they sit in the abdomen, so your abdomen's bloaty because it's low vibration, affects the liver and kidneys, hang on the shoulders and neck, so they're always tight, tap in the lower back and send you negative thoughts. So, when you go to work, you get these thoughts like, oh, the boss can't stand you, you're just about to get fired, and no one likes you, and da-da-da, all these negative thoughts, but they're always you thoughts, and that's always important to disseminate between a you thought and it's actually you. Because most, a lot of people now are disseminated it. That's not me. Where's that coming from? Oh, it's the anti-attachment. And then you've got obviously archons, you've got Luciferians. They're pretty snarly. When you remove those, they're the ones that make your body contort or speak through your voice box in a nasty, cackly, raspy voice. So I've dealt with them all. It's crazy. I remember being at a conference one day. I've never seen so many Luciferians attached to somebody. There was 57. But where do you get these from? And every time I took one out, they're very manipulative. So I put them in a portal, removed one, and the nenext one will come. You didn't get me after. Oh, yes, I did. You're going next, And the next one, and the next one. Gosh, it took me an hour and a half to remove all these entities. And the woman's just like, afterwards, it's insane. So they do affect people pretty profoundly, but if you can, you can get them removed. So
If they've been here forever and they can transcend dimensions, what do they need from us? Like, why are they attaching to us?
well, they feed off negative energy, loosh. They're also interested in the planet because of the gold and, the resources, which they don't have on their planet. I mean, the Greys, they're another species that came down and sadly, they were abducting people because they've ruined the reticular in the Orion's belt. They've ruined the whole planet with nuclear stuff. So they came down here to try and create humanoids. But they weren't very smart, because what happened at first is they would abduct people, steal eggs and sperm, put it in a plastic pod, and think, oh, we're going to get a humanoid. You're not. Why is that? Because it's not a woman. So what was happening is they were getting like a draconian AI type of soul, which obviously, is pretty checked out. And so they realized, oh, we better change this. So what they then ended up doing is abducting women, seeding them, putting them back down. After 4 or 6 weeks, when they monitored, oh, there's a soul in, they'd take them back up, take it out, then put it in a plastic pod. And, this was stopped. I mean, I chaired a meeting. I don't want to go into it too much, but it's to do with the Galactic Federation. And it was decided, what's the difference between human violation and education? Now, people say, well, anti-attachments, that's a violation. It's not, because they're here before you come down. So with the power of prayer and the power you have, you can remove them. But what happens if the government signs a contract from some race saying, oh, I want to, abduct your people and steal their body bits? Is that a violation of education? Absolutely. So they were swept off the planet in 2017. Yeah. So the Greys aren't here anymore. It's really interesting.
Wow.
There's
Uh,
all sorts going
well,
on.
there is. I always thought that was connected to cattle mutilations, but those are still going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I went to a ranch actually, and he had a horse ranch. It was actually in Arizona, and called Stardust Ranch. And he called me up. He was getting upset because the greys were coming down, and he'd find one of his horse completely reduced, half eaten, whatever. And anyway, I spent the whole weekend there. We opened the portal. It took me about 48 hours to open this portal, and once it opened, normally it opened on the ground, but it actually opened up at about 300 feet in the sky, and things were dropping out of it. And then the Actorians turned up, free craft, and it was incredible. Anyway, I shut it down for good, and it stopped. So, but yeah, there's so many different things happening on this planet. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
All right. And I know that we have a lot of listeners that will hear this and it will resonate with them strongly, but then they may be worried that they have an entity attached to them, or they have something is, they don't have the base of knowledge that you're sharing with us. So what would be some key points that people might be aware that, because as highly sensitive people, we're usually aware when something is off with our physical,
Oh
mental,
yeah.
or spiritual selves. But are there any things that you note that are pretty consistent across the board, no matter which entity comes in, or are they specific to different groups?
Well, some of the entities are pretty difficult. You need a lot of power. You've got to have absolute intent, like get out of my body. I mean, we have a prayer to remove entities. So, you put portal around you and then you just, dear God, I command you to remove this entity and send it back to God with unconditional love and forgiveness. But it's no use just saying it like, oh, God, couldn't you help? You've got to put some power behind it. You've got to get absolute power behind your voice, because then the universal law says they have to leave. But it's like, in churches, I mean, they make a mistake because they'll go up to somebody who's got an entity and say, in the name of the Lord, I command you leave. So you just upset that entity. It's all fed up. It's going around the church because it hasn't left. It's just left that body. But you didn't put it anywhere. You've got to place them somewhere safe where they don't come back. And I think that's an important point. But yeah, I mean, if you're scared, you can always come on the general groups. They're twice a week. We remove entities. We do an hour. We do a lot of stuff. But remove entities, comb the meridians, give them space-time continuum energy if they've got nanotech or stealth pathogens, give them ultimate dimension antidote. And then we do a lot of other things, like we work on the heart, 27 heart releases. That's a lot less than I do because I don't know the people. People just come on. I don't want to overwhelm them. And we do the intestines. A lot of people are getting intestinal issues at the moment. Why is that? Well, basically, emotion bleeds into the pancreas. So what's happening is the pancreas is getting paralyzed. So it's reducing the enzyme count. So you're not digesting your food properly. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but almost every day I think, what do I want to eat? And the answer is nothing. So you've got to try and find something that'll hit the spot. And what you eat that day that'll hit the spot, next day it won't. So, you've got to look a few hours before dinner time and think, do I really fancy? Yeah, that'll hit the spot. So you eat it and it sits well, I think a lot of people, I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but a lot of my clients have.
So there aren't specific signs that someone has an attachment, that they like symptoms, dreams,
The
aches, or
biggest signs actually is lower back issues, because when it taps in the lower back, although it's energetic, it damages over a period of time the L4, L5. So you start getting back issues. Your shoulders and neck are tight. Your abdomen gets bloated because it's being paralyzed. So when you eat your food, as it goes further down, it backs up because the lower intestines slow down. You can get brain fog because if they're sitting over the liver's paralyzed, so it's not processing toxins. So you get like heavy head, like, wow, why was my head so heavy? Oh, that'd be because your liver's not functioning properly. And the kidneys, exhaustion as well, because it affects the adrenals and the kidneys. So yeah, if you've got any of those symptoms, and you there's a good chance you've got an empty. Once you remove it, it's like life changing. Wow, I feel so much better because you can start getting gurglies in the intestine and starts functioning properly. Your neck and shoulders let go, the negative thoughts stop, and yeah, so that's the
wow.
signs. But there's another thing as well. They remote view you, which is really interesting. So, like from a distance, they'll watch you, and if anyone ever gets like something's watching me. I'm sure it feels like something's watching me. Or, when you're going for an examination next day and maybe you haven't revised properly or you're worried about the exam, you get butterflies in your stomach. You'll get butterflies in your stomach. And if you've got those, if you ever get that for no reason, there's always a reason. So always look at it. And again, we have a prayer on the website, or a map of intents, as I like to call them, where it can remove remote viewers. So all these prayers are on the website, so people can use them.
Well, tell people where to go to get that and how they can join you for some of these healing sessions.
Yeah, if you go to globalenlightenmentproject.com, and we have the prayers there, we have meditations, like the brain series. A lot of people, a lot of Starseed people get, anxiety, PTSD, ADHD, ADD, OCD. I mean, I've got OCD. I've got 84 pairs of pantaloons. My wife's going, don't buy any more. I said, why not? She goes, why do you need so many? I said, look, if you get a problem in the world where we get a crisis, at least we've got pantaloons. Might not be food. She's going, stop it, But yeah, if you go to globalenlightenmentproject.com, there's one-to-one sessions and specialized groups. And if you want to sign up, you can sign up for the general healing, which is 5 p.m. Central Time on Thursday and 11 a.m. Central Time on Saturday. I do it twice a week. And people say, well, why do you do that? And the answer is because I've been without food, 21 days, 7 days. I've been without money. And I mean money where you couldn't even buy food. You could buy absolutely nothing. And I know what it's like. When I went bankrupt, it was a struggle. I'm glad I experienced it because, I want to make sure everyone gets a healing regardless of how much money they get. So that's why we do that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been very, very interesting. I appreciate you sharing your work.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Denise. I hope you enjoyed it. Bless your heart.
Yes. And we'll send people your way and share this on social media, because do you also offer things in person at your center?
No, I never do. I never do things. We used to, but, for my safety and theirs, I've had some weird things happen. I decided that, I tend to do it on the phone or on Teams, or, we can use Zoom as well. So yeah, it's just as easy. And it means you work on people all around the world, so.
It's lovely.
Yeah, it's amazing.
GlobalEnlightenmentProject.com. We'll put it in the show notes. Thank you so much, Christopher.
Oh, thanks, Mother. Thanks, Denise. Bless your heart.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember, as always, to show up, do great work, and share your light.